Theories abound as to what Obama was doing yesterday with that Pep Rally on gun control. The first thing he was doing was attacking the Constitution. And make no mistake, I sit here. I have an objective. I've had it for a long time, and that is to educate as many people possible about liberalism and how it operates, how to recognize it, what it is. And it's an ongoing thing. It'll never end. It's an ongoing educational process. Even after people learn it, there's something about socialism that just attracts people. I mean, it can be socialism is the biggest fraud, one of the biggest frauds ever perpetrated on humanity. It's been demonstrated to be a fraud time and time again. It's never, ever worked, and yet it still seduces people. And the reasons for that are psychological in large part, but they're also for them. The promise of Santa Claus, the promise of equality and sameness and fairness, and how that feeds into human nature. It just works, even though it's demonstrated to be a total lie. Socialism has never even gotten close to working. By illustration, we can have 8 years of robust economic expansion, robust job expansion. 8 years that actually led to a total of 20, at least 15 years of job expansion, wealth accrual, people's incomes going up, everything, deficits being reduced, the debt being reduced. The number of jobs created expanding left and right. This was the Reagan 80s. People lived through it. And by 1992, all who had lived through it had been convinced that none of what they lived through had actually happened, that it was all smoke and mirrors, that it was all fake. And Bill Clinton's elected. Now, one of the reasons is that the Republican Party stopped explaining why things were working so well in the 80s. And that's its own bottomless pit because the Republican Party is not conservative, never really has been, so doesn't tout it. So the effort is ongoing to try to get people to understand how liberalism is the fraud, how socialism is the fraud, empty promises and so forth, and how everything that liberals do is political. Gun control, it's not about compassion. It's not about saving lives, and that's why the tears are phony. It's not about any of that. It's all about amassing and accruing and cementing more power for people in the Democrat Party at the highest levels of government. That's the purpose of liberalism and socialism as far as they're concerned. And so nothing's real. Everything is spin. And I will expand on that when we get back. Your guiding light. Times of trouble, confusion, murkiness, tumult, chaos, deceit, lies, and yes, even the good times. Rush Limbaugh at 800-282-2882. So, look, very briefly, that whole thing yesterday is an example, Obama's Pep Rally. The whole thing was spin, and by that I mean none of it was real. It was all designed to present an emotion, an attitude that is not real. Liberals, by definition, cannot be honest about their true objectives. Never get elected. They would never win arguments. So they have to mask and camouflage everything, and they usually do so under the auspices of compassion and equality and fairness, sameness, kindness, and so forth, when they're actually some of the most vicious, mean-spirited extremists among us. And yesterday was a classic example. I said, the same guy told you could keep your plan and your doctor as he was preparing to deny you the right to do so. Same guy who told your premiums coming down $2,500 told you yesterday, no, I don't want to get a gun. It's not about getting guns out of people's... No. Most certainly was. The purpose of the long-term purpose of that was to stigmatize legal gun ownership. That's the objective. Now, they can't come out and say that's what they want to do. Who'd support them? Obama can't do a pep rally and say, we're aiming for legal gun owners. We are aiming for people who are not committing crimes. They're the people we're focusing on. They're the people whose guns we're going to go. They can't say that, but everybody knows that's what they want to do. So how do they go about? Well, they can't get anywhere near honesty on this. They have to cast this as something entirely different. Something rooted in love, of children love, of people, compassion for the innocent or what have you. A little tear here or there proves and demonstrates the compassion. And then you set about to stigmatize the very group of people you're targeting as the problem. And yesterday it was guns. One day it's doctors. The next day it's the rich. Whoever the targets, the next day it's big oil. After that, it's big pharmaceutical. The targets keep rotating. The attacks never end. And the purpose is to create, in the minds of as many people as possible, that all of these groups are the enemy of average, ordinary Americans, and that people like Obama are there to protect you and defend you from these vicious enemies. And all of that happens is spin. When I say that everything the Democrats do and everything the left does is rooted in politics, it's ironic because a lot of people think only the Republicans do politics. And when they think of Republicans doing politics, what that means to them is Republicans are always saying no. Republicans are always objecting. Republicans are always standing in the way. Because that's how Democrats and the media portray them. And that's what politics becomes. Politics becomes saying no. Politics becomes gridlock. Politics becomes no cooperation. And so the Republican leadership falls for the gig, falls for the trick. Now we got to make it look like we're willing to cooperate. When that's the whole thing's spin. None of it's real. The whole thing is spin designed to mask and camouflage the actual true objective, whatever it is from day to day, that Obama or the left or the Democrat Party has at the top of its agenda item list. And you'll note that it changes rapidly. Yesterday it was guns. Who knows what it's going to be tomorrow or the next day, but it's going to be something else. We don't have time to take a breath. It's one crisis after another. And it's climate change, global warming, you name it. And there are always enemies that have to be tamed. The left is never truly, never even close to honest about what they want to do. And that's why I say everything's politicized, and spin is the best way to explain it.